Good morning, crew. Let's go ahead and let's talk about landing. Are you having issues with them? I hope not. I hope you're having, you don't need this at all and landings are no issue, but I figured I've got a good opportunity right here to just go ahead and record a landing. It's just me and the plane, got done doing some imagery. Not much going on out here. I'll pan around and show you. There, but yeah, so we're going to go ahead and go back to the local airport here and just make a normal landing. The weather's clear, it's not all that windy. So basically, enter the traffic pattern the appropriate way, depending on how we're coming in. And we need to get this thing slowed down and configured and in a position to safely, stably land the plane, right? That sounds simple, right? Just slow it, get it configured, and land the plane. We all know there's a little more to it than that. So my perspective on it, my take, is one where we do everything with a profile. I learned when I was in the airlines, and really then, a little bit before, but it was mainly the airlines that gave me that profile mentality. I do the same thing the same way every time. And if something's out of normal, abnormal, I try to make it as normal as possible. I'm sure your instructors have told you that about emergencies. You know, you make an emergency as normal as possible so that you hedge your bets for a safe outcome. And so the same thing with landings. I land the citation, the Saab, the 182, all the same basic way, like with that same profile. I'm gonna do the same stuff at the same time and just configure that profile for the aircraft you're in. So today it's just a matter of getting the power back a little bit. I don't have a ton of power in this 182, right? So a little bit of power reduction as we get slowed down and into the area. My approach flaps, I don't really have to use them like something that's faster, so I'll use first notch of flaps just like you would in a 172. Basically, as we get to beam the numbers, we should have already slowed up to a traffic pattern altitude. We're at that altitude, and then bring the power out to about 12, 1400, depending on the day, depending on the plane. Idle if you're going to do an idle landing, or power off, whatever it is, but we bring that power to a reduced setting of being your aiming point. And when you're in that white arc, or when you're in your first notch of flap speed, I introduce first notch of flaps. And then we continue on until we get 45 of being the numbers, like we all have heard, right? Off your shoulder, and make a base turn. On base turn, then I'm going to do gear and second notch of flaps. So gear down, well, it's fixed in this plane, right? See it down there? You can see it. Gear's mounted, so 3 green, we already have it, and flap second notch, 20 degrees in this plane. And then we'll slow another 10 knots. So backing up a little bit, for this particular plane, I'm going to do 100 miles an hour on my downwind, after I put flaps in to slow down, and then we'll slow to 90 on base, then we'll slow to 80 on long final, and then we'll slow up to that final ref-in speed over the numbers for short final. So again, going back to that base, 3 green, flaps, the next notch flaps, so it's flaps 20 in this, and 90 miles an hour. Line up, correcting for whatever winds we do have, roll out on final after that turn, final notch of flaps, which would be 30 degrees in this one. I do have 40, sometimes I use 40, and then that next 10 miles an hour slower, we'll go to 80. And then as we get close to the runway, we'll be slowing down to that ref speed of about 70 in this plane, 75. Just with this weight, and I can get slower if I'm doing a performance landing or something if need be.
To kind of get it set up for the departure controller who's got more information on that.
And then we fly down to the runway. We have our aiming point in the window, right? So I'm gonna show you the window out here. We have an aiming point that's out there in the horizon, and I'm going to put it somewhere right here for me. If it goes lower than that down the windscreen, then I'm getting high, so I need to get lower. So here's my aiming point. If it starts going up in my windscreen, then I'm getting low, and I need to adjust. So you find that reference point of where your aiming point is in the windscreen here, and you want to keep it there. That's what's going to tell you whether you're low or high. And you have to learn what that looks like, but that's kind of what you're aiming for, or what I'm aiming for. Then we fly down to our aiming point. Now, that aiming point isn't your touchdown point. We're aiming at that point. So once I fly straight down to that aiming point and get to a height where I'm going to start that round out and flare, and again, this is something you have to learn in the plane. You fly down to that aiming point. Once I cross that aiming point, then I'm going to fly down the runway. I'm going to transition from flying to an aiming point to now, I'm gonna put the end of the runway where the concrete meets the grass in that same spot, and I'm gonna fly all the way down the runway and just try to fly down the runway. I'm gonna do that. What's gonna happen to the controls is the controls, you're gonna start bringing that yoke back because you should be at idle power at this point, right? So you're that control back, so I'm gonna keep the nose where it's at. I'm not necessarily bringing the nose up, more so as I'm letting the rear fall by doing that. And at some point, when the plane is ready, it'll touch down on its own. So I need to start a descent and deal with center here, or approach. So let's get going with that, and we'll see you on downwind. With Spain traffic, Skyline 05 Sierras, 2 miles east, crossing field for left traffic to Spain. Alright, we're on downwind. All checklists have been run. Everything from here will be profiles and procedures. So gas is on, undercarriage is bolted, mixture's rich, props go, pumps don't have, buckled up, lights are on. I'm aiming at the 3 and the 5 down there. So as we cross by them, I'm going to bring this out to about 1200, 1400 RPM, something like that, carb heat out, and let the plane slow up. We're in the white arc. I'll put in my first 10 notches, 10 degrees of flaps. Then I'm gonna let the plane descend at 100 miles an hour until this runway gets off my shoulder 45 degrees or so. Also, I don't like to go too far over downtown, so I make it a little tighter here for this particular one. So, towards Spain traffic, Skyline 05 Sierra, turning left base, 35, full stop, towards Spain. Alright, so there it is, 3 green, props full forward. We got 90 miles an hour, second 20 degrees of flaps, and wheels are down. Now I am high, so I'm going to adjust that, because I'd want to be about 800 feet here. 7 to 8, just depending. And long final, straight ahead, and short final all seem to be clear. Towards Spain traffic, Skyline 05 Sierra, turn final 35, full stop, towards Spain. So I'm slowing to that 80 miles an hour, and I'm putting in that 30 degrees of flaps. And looking for the 3 and the 5. So I'm high, so I'm letting that descent come in a little more. And we should be getting down on it somewhere right in here. Yeah, you start to see it go red there. So start bringing that back, slowing up even more. 3 and the 5. Now, I'm going to leave a little power in. As we cross the 3 and the 5, I'm going to bring the nose up to the horizon, and we're going to fly all the way down to the end of the runway. Oh, right in there. And I'll be honest with you, that one was ugly. I was concerned about y'all, but not about me. Probably not the smartest little bit here, but it's a distraction. So yeah, so we would be flying all the way down to the end of the runway. You don't actually do that, obviously. I hope that's obvious. Rather that you're just actually having that appearance, and the plane will set down when it's ready. You hold the nose where it's at. So I was trying to exaggerate it for y'all, and let the nose go a little flat, and it just plop down, 3 point, not pretty. Left's clear, right's clear. Towards Spain traffic, Skyline 05 Sierra, clear, and 35 to the ramp towards Spain. And that is pretty much the basics of a landing. You do a bunch of them, get used to it. Good luck with them. Have any questions, ask. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see, and as always, fly safe. We'll talk to you later.